There comes a moment in the journey when it all falls into place. Not because we planned it, but because love had an ulterior motive all along we were being prepared to see. This is that moment for me. I'm Giselle Gamby, coach, mentor, and podcaster, and this is the Intuitive Pull Podcast Season 6. This season is for the ambassadors, the evolutionary leaders, the ones who dare to go first, the ones whose mission it is to lead from the consciousness of love and break the sound barrier of what is possible. This is for those who know they are part of something greater, and for those who never thought they were. My intention is that Season 6 will change your life, that it will activate your mission and liberate you to lead from the abundance of your wisdom and be in your full-bodied self-expression no matter what, because love is the ultimate mastermind. Hello, Intuitive Pull community. Before I share this next episode with you, I just need to preface this episode with this. I recorded this episode on Tuesday. It's now Thursday. I didn't know what I know now on Tuesday. And what I know now is a bloody humdinger. So, this episode is now part one, a very, 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 very important part one. Precious and so full and life-changing on its own. Part two, which is what I came to realize yesterday, is the place that needed to be seen, because without seeing what I saw yesterday, which I will share in part two, what I share in part one, which is so precious, as I said, would have a kink in it, and it would not take off the ground in its abundance, in its wealth, without having seen what I saw yesterday. So please enjoy part one. And I would recommend, if you have the time, to go directly to part two. Part two will not be as long as part one. And if you don't have the time, that's okay. Come back to part two. Just don't leave it too long, because you need to hear the continuity and feel the continuity of what I have received. Thank you, and I so hope you enjoy it. Hello, Intuitive Pull community. This is a really courageous episode today, because I'm going to be showing up here in a different way to how I have shown up with you since the end of 2021, when I created the Intuitive Pull podcast. So today I am going to channel for you. I don't know what I'm going to channel, except that all that I know is that my body is telling me to. But first, I just want to give a little bit of background, a little bit of context, because otherwise this piece of channeling feels like it will just float up in the air like a balloon, and there will be no grounding. Where does this multidimensional side of me, where did it come into existence? Because it's not actually something that, as I said, that I've spoken about on this podcast, which is a bit funny considering it's called The Intuitive Pull. And really, there's only some people that know this side of me. Certainly clients that I've had really from 2013, maybe up until about, I'd say 2022. And then since then, I really haven't had this relationship with myself as liberated as I have been in the past. So where did it all begin? I have had so many multidimensional experiences that have literally changed my life. Multidimensional experiences that you couldn't make up if you tried, that the mind, as much as it wants to try and understand, will never have any understanding about it because it doesn't exist in the realm of the mind. And the only thing that I can say is that I have had evidence after evidence after evidence after evidence that this multidimensional nature that I have really does transform the untransformable. And so some of you already know this story, and it's really where it began. And I'm just going to give you a snapshot for now. And that is that I became aware of my multidimensional nature in 2002 when I participated in my first very big personal development program at a time where I was in chaos and crisis and in a lot of suffering. At a time where I had previously had my first baby boy, Joshua, and he passed away at 11 days old. And then my marriage completed because I chose it to complete. And that marriage was one of betrayal and of physical and emotional abuse. And so I was a mess. And then I did this big personal development program. And part of that personal development program spoke about intuition. Now, I have always been a feeler right from when I was a little girl. I even judged, actually, later on, I judged that my feeling capacity wasn't as good as my brother's intellectual capacity because I didn't see its intelligence, its creative ability. And then when I was in this big personal development program, I was in a stream of consciousness writing, and I had always loved to write even before that. And then I heard Joshua speak to me, and he spoke to me, and in fact, I think I have my book here. I wrote pages and pages worth. Here we are. Pages and pages and pages worth of channeled information that I was hearing from him. And he prophesied that I would meet my future husband and that he would find me, which is exactly what happened. And he prophesied that I would change my career. And not that I knew what it would be, what that change would be, but he gave me particular words that that were so moving to me about what he said I was here for and what I was here to catalyze, that the words were so moving that I decided that I had to leave my very happy human resources career to tune in every day and listen to what those words actually meant in practical ways. So that was my very big, can you imagine? the baby that had passed away speaking to me, can you imagine? It was a very big multidimensional experience that literally changed my life because I moved out of my HR career and I became a coach about 6 months later from leaving my HR career and tuning in every day. I finally had what the words he spoke to me, I had the first version of what that meant, and I started coaching. I have had multidimensional experience after multidimensional experience. Another experience I had, I'm going to skip a whole lot. In fact, there are too many of them that I could speak about, but I'm going to speak about one that is beyond extraordinary. And that is that one night I was in bed asleep, and yet I was observing myself have this dream. And in the dream that I was observing myself have, I was given an instruction, and the instruction was, at that time, the way that I ran my coaching business is that people would come and work with me for 3 months, one-on-one, and then once they received the value from the coaching, then they upgraded to work with me for a whole year, and they came into the mastermind. And in my mind at the time, I just believed that that's how things happened. I had this belief that nobody would want to come into a year with me and commit, in that time and in that with that amount of money for a whole year. I didn't believe that people would commit to that right up front. It wasn't even a thought, it was an unconscious thought that had directed how I ran my business. People come in for 3 months and then they upgrade to a year and then more. In the dream that I was observing myself having, I was told to bring people directly into the mastermind. And I woke up that morning thinking, what the hell was that? that just happened. What the hell was that? Observing myself have a dream, being given instructions, like business instructions? What the hell was that? And then all of a sudden I had shivers all over my head. I had never had shivers on my head. I'd had shivers on my body many times, especially when I'm coaching, but never on my head. And that was bizarre. And so I decided to presence what that was. And it was a Saturday morning, and I took myself in the car. I brought my laptop with me. I sat by the beach in the car. I meditated, and out started to flow words through my fingers onto my computer, words that were not coming from me, words that I was receiving through me. And when I read what had been written, I was a little embarrassed because the words that I was hearing were things like, and we say this and we say that. And yet the overall message was incredibly, incredibly powerful. And it was all about power, all about coming into our power. In my vulnerability, I put that piece of writing that included the we say this and the we say that, and I didn't even know who we was. I put it on Facebook, and that week, 3 people came directly into the mastermind. I had one person upgrading from their 3 months into a year. One of those 3 new people I didn't know, and we simply had a Facebook Messenger chat for 52 minutes. We didn't meet face to face. We didn't use our voice. We simply were there through Messenger, and I was feeling who this person was and what was happening for them and what the opportunity was. And there was a great connection that we both felt. And within 52 minutes, she committed to a year-long program with a, significant fee, which totally blew any of my beliefs out of the water that people would never commit to a program like that right up front. So I questioned who was speaking to me. I knew that Joshua was speaking to me in that first multidimensional experience, but who was speaking to me when they were literally speaking through me about our power? And I heard the words, or the word I should say, Arcturians. Now, consciously, I had never heard that word. Maybe I'd heard it, but I don't remember. But that was the word, the Arcturians. And I went and Googled, and hey, I've never been this type of person that, I've never been that extreme type of woo-woo person. I feel like I've always been more grounded. Well, that's my judgment speaking, isn't it? And when I Googled the Arcturians, I started to cry because I felt like what I was reading, I felt like I was home. And what I learned was that the Arcturians live in the galactic realm. And now this to Giselle Gambing is very unusual because, as I said, it was not how I lived in the world. And yet the information that I was receiving and the downloads that continued to come through my fingers as I typed out were very potent and held a lot of value and came into my coaching. So I continued to download through my fingers onto the computer, and it created many wonderful things. And then one time I was facilitating a workshop face to face, and I had that feeling that something wanted to come through me, but the feeling was quite intense. And it just felt very direct and very to the point. And now it was inappropriate for me to take my laptop and close my eyes and channel this out. And so I said this to the people that were present, and I said, I think I just have to speak this out. And it was the most vulnerable thing for me to do because I'd never done that before. And what I can say is that the whole room just had waves of shivers and waves of shivers and waves of shivers. And the messaging was absolutely on point. And later, what I learned was that was an energy that came from Thoth, who was a mystical creature in ancient Egypt. And it had a particular quality. It was always very, 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 very direct. You know, it did not mince words. And so then I embraced Thoth energy, and that created many wonderful things. In January this year, I had one of those observer dreams. I had a dream where I was observing. In fact, before I had the dream, I sleepwalked that night, just to show you how connected to another realm I was, in that I was literally sleepwalking and my husband found me and then I kind of came to. So I was very far away. My consciousness was very, very far away that night. And then I had the dream and I observed myself have the dream. And the dream told me about a program that would become a container for a message that I had continued to receive the previous couple of months. And the message that I had continued to receive was, there are some of us who are not here to break through by breaking down. There are some of us who are not here to break through chaos and crisis anymore. That was the catalyst, and it's no longer necessary for our awakening, for our becoming. And instead, what was the vehicle to our awakening and our becoming is the appreciation of the fact that we have years of experience and wisdom. And so the catalyst now was to gather and appreciate and harvest the abundance of our wisdom and to lead from here. And as we lead from the abundance of our wisdom, of course, there are new expressions of who we are. There are new forms of leadership that come into play because there's so much fullness and wholeness and knowing and wisdom and experience that we can now share. And that messaging, that calling was very, very real to me. It meant a lot to me. It felt very valid. It felt like it was a thing. And so then I received that program in my dream that I was observing having, and it told me to call it Harvest, which I loved. It gave me a fee, and off I went creating it. And guess what happened? In my intuition, and I believe it was my intuition, I don't believe it was a projection, I saw many people come to Harvest. And so I started creating this container, and I believed that the form involved people who I had coached for many years coming and facilitating, taking on pieces of facilitation in this program, and that it would start with a 2-day face-to-face facilitation. And so I booked the beautiful and powerful Troy and Beck Methorst, who are the most amazing breathwork facilitators. amongst many other things. I booked them to come to Sydney. I booked a venue. Troy and Beck paid for their accommodation, their flights. And I said to them and others that were part of this facilitation, I said, I feel like there will be many people. I see them like, and I still don't believe that is a projection. As I said, I still believe that is an intuition. And I had one person commit to the program. And then what did I do? I shamed myself. I believed that, it makes me quite sad speaking this out loud. I believed that what I'd seen in that dream and being given the name and the fee, I believed that I was wrong, that I got it wrong. And in that shame, I had to reach out to the facilitators and to Troy and Beck and tell them, don't come to Sydney, and I had to release the venue, I should say. And then I refunded Troy and Beck for the costs that they had taken on. And I was full of making myself wrong, like I got it wrong. And then the one person who said yes, who I have been doing the most precious work with, the vision as I saw it, except for the form, there's none of the container in the way that I'd originally seen it with other facilitators and coming to Sydney for 2 days. It's simply one-on-one online. But the work and the purpose is unfolding. It is the most beautiful, beautiful, beautiful experience. Oh, just now, again, I feel like crying to see somebody lead from the abundance of their wisdom. To see what they are enabling for others, including in the context of psychosis in the community that she's supporting. And seeing that the experience of that psychosis that she is witnessing is not happening in the way that we are told, that there is breakthrough happening immediately. And the ripples that are happening, this is a general manager of a large organization, the ripples that are happening amongst her people, the empowerment that's happening, the heart that is in her leadership, the generosity of spirit, her enabling those who have no voice to have a voice. Like, it is profound, profound work. And it is only happening because she is harvesting the abundance of her wisdom that is already here. She's not starting from lack. She's not starting from enoughness, not enoughness. She's not building and growing. She's harvesting what is already here. And yet I judged that multidimensional experience as being wrong because the 15 people that I saw in the form that I saw it did not happen. Well, at least it didn't happen yet. I've had a very, very powerful couple of weeks in that I saw how I didn't abandon my multidimensional nature for my clients. I still hold them in the consciousness of love unconditionally. I still hold them in the power, in the infinite power of the consciousness of love that can bend reality, bend timelines, move beyond time and space, beyond linear time and space, beyond all the rules and beliefs and assumptions of the way this world works. I hold them in that consciousness unconditionally with utter conviction. That is my multidimensional self holding them. But I've forgotten to do it for myself. I've forgotten to give myself the same experience, the joy of all the multidimensional experiences that I've had. I've had so many over the years. And then, of course, that catalyzes my clients to have their own crazy, cannot make this stuff up. You know, just recently working with a client that had come back for a 2-month immersion, you could not make the orchestration up, so much so that I said words that I'd never said out loud before. I said, Grace is doing her finest work. This literally saved the life of one of her children. Literally saved the life of one of her children. Grace is doing her finest work because I have been holding her in the infinite consciousness of love that knows how to reorganize everything. And all that we need to do is take responsibility, have faith, and surrender. But because I made that dream that I had in January wrong, and also because of a few other things that happened a few years ago, that actually set off a process of really going deeper into my own humanity and into the sacred nature of my humanity and cleaning up blind spots and seeing where I'd place thresholds on how powerful and loving I can be, and actually going to my core wound for the first time, even though I've been doing this for years and years and years and then experienced freedom from that. And of course, I have been receiving the most beautiful programs, new programs. And that doesn't just happen through the mind. Of course, that happens by being in relationship with God. Of course, it does. But the extent to which I would lean into my multidimensional nature for my own experience of life itself, that has diminished in the last few years. And when I am present to that, it makes me really sad. It also makes me a bit angry and I want to kind of shake my fists. And ultimately, it's dishonoring. It's dishonoring of the gifts that I have been given. You know, I was recently mentored and I was told, do you realize that the gifts that God gave you, people spend their whole lives and they don't touch into them once? Can I tell you how humbling that was for me? Can I tell you how humbling that was for me to hear? Do you realize that the gifts that God has given you, people spend their whole lives not even touching into them just once, and you believe you are unworthy of them? You believe that they're not good enough? Can I tell you how I got on my knees hearing that? And so I am returning home for my own experience of life, not just for the space that I hold for my clients, which is heaven on earth for me, but for me and my own experience of life. I am returning home. And thus, here I am on this podcast. And if that wasn't channeled, I don't know what was, because there are no notes that I wrote. There was no preparation for this podcast other than I had this feeling that I wanted to channel here for you. That was part of it. And so now let's go there as I allow myself in this next part of this episode to be a channel. I was a channel just then, and I will continue to be a channel, but just in a different, just not through the Giselle experience. And my high heart is fluttering as I speak. So I'm going to close my eyes now. And I can feel Thoth energy actually now. And if you can close your eyes, that would be amazing. If you can't, that's okay. Receive this transmission. So here we go. it's interesting because this is not channel. This is here that just wants to be spoken. And it's a very interesting thing. Father, forgive me, for I have sinned, for I have forgotten the power and the glory of love for my own experience in life. And thank you for allowing me to remember. And so here I am with the listeners and viewers of the Intuitive Pool podcast. And this is what is coming through me now. You have forgotten. You have forgotten the glory and the power of love. You have tried and attempted. That's a good word, isn't it? Attempted to make real what you desire. You have attempted to make real what you desire. But you cannot make what you desire real when you forget about your multidimensional nature, because when you abscond yourself from your multidimensional nature, you, the human, is the one responsible for the creation. You, the human, is the one responsible for the creation, and it is heavy and hard, and it is lonely, and it is full of stress. And sparkles of joy are absent when you believe that you are the one, that the burden is placed on your shoulders to make this thing that you desire become real. And when you walk the earth alone and you forget all that is here to support you, all your guides, all who exist in the realm of love, all who exist in the realm of infinite consciousness. As Giselle has said recently, 1 + 1 will only ever equal 2, but this is not what we are about. We are about non-linear time and space creation. We work through you, we work with you so that you can experience your infinite creative nature, so that you can remember that you are God walking in human form. Not a God out there that has all the power, but the God inside of you that is power itself. And so in this human experience, yes, it is very important to take responsibility, to bring back to love what has been held in fear, to bring back to love what has been unforgivable, to bring back to love what has been immovable, unshakable, and impenetrable, all the words that Giselle has been receiving. In your human, it is so important for you to bring all of that back to love as you walk from fear to love over and over again. And it is a divine experience to bring back what you have held in fear, how you have held yourself in fear. It is a divine experience to bring yourself back to love. And now the message is that this multidimensional realm is not only available to you if it is your first time, welcome, but it is your home. You did not find this podcast or be in connection with Giselle if this were not true. And if this is not true, then we are very okay to say we respect your wishes. However, you walk in the space here alongside Giselle. And her role here today is to remind you of your power, but this is a power. This is the ultimate power. This is a power that is connected to the infinite realm of all creation. Perhaps you, like Giselle, have had a story that you have not been allowed to be powerful, or perhaps that being powerful is not for you, that you do not belong here. But I am telling you that this is your home, and this is the ultimate power to inhabit. A power that is not of this world, that is not of this earth, that recreates universes. And so bring us back into your heart if you have forgotten. Let us walk with you consciously if you have forgotten. Let us return to your worlds and recreate and orchestrate more precisely than you could ever do in your human alone. And if you are hearing this for the first time and have never consciously felt this to be for you, like Giselle once thought this was not for her, or perhaps you never realized that this realm, this infinite realm of creative potential and possibility, where there are no endings and completions, and everything is continuous and a continuum. Welcome. Let us walk with you. Let us show you what is possible, not because you abscond your power to us, not because you do not take responsibility and make yourself redundant in the process. You must, in your human, take responsibility. You must, in your human, bring everything back to love. And then we are perfect partners, because there is space for the God to live within you rather than fear. There is space for the light to live within you, to be received by you, to be heard by you, to be seen by you, to be felt by you. Because that is also who you are. And so, as Giselle says, let us indeed break the sound barrier of what is possible. Let us indeed live a life of beautiful madness. Let us indeed live a life of faith in this grand orchestration of life that has precision beyond anything you could manipulate yourself. And let us return together. When we return home alone, it is a blessed experience. When we return home together, it is a gifted experience, because we see light upon light upon light upon light upon light. Mirrors of light here, mirrors of light there, mirrors of possibility here, mirrors of possibility there. And all of that becomes real and more real and more real and more real and more real, more real than this physical 3D life. Take this consciousness of love into your heart, these realms of love into your heart. And may these multidimensional experiences become real to you, whether they occur in your dreams or your waking hours, coincidences that you can't explain, memories that just have been buried and are ready to come to light. Callings, missions, creations, reunions, communions, witnessing, vocalizing, liberating, walking, being with. Let all of that find its place in you. Thank you. Thank you. It's good to be home again. I made a vow that I am surrendering again, letting go, listening, taking action upon what I hear, unattached, not making anything mean anything anymore, not disbelieving based on what happens in 3D reality. How could I ever have said that only one person committing to harvest was a failure or was wrong? I'm deeply, deeply humbled. So from a practical perspective, harvest is available. It's 4 months, one-on-one. It's, as I said, beyond what I have experienced so far. And there is also another program that has arrived this week, and it's called The Return. And it is a 3-month mastermind. Can I tell you how happy my heart is to be bringing back a mastermind? In these 3 months, we are all returning. We are all returning to our multidimensional nature, whether it's for the first time or whether it's again, and we are returning. And all those things that were just spoken out, light upon light upon light, mirrors upon mirrors upon mirrors, breaking the sound barrier of what is possible, living a life of beautiful madness from faith and grace, and allowing grace to do her finest work, being more vulnerable than we ever have been in our multidimensional relationship and nature. Like what I am saying is like we are surrendering full, not full out, but full in. We are letting go full into our multidimensional nature. You know, out of our mind, out of our judgments, out of our perceptions of what people will think of us, or if it will work or if it won't work. We are going all in. And yes, that's a vulnerable experience. Do you think that being here, channeling that, wasn't vulnerable for me? Out there publicly, on YouTube, for God's sake. That's all I want to say today. Please email me if any of this has spoken to you, and if you feel that your soul and your human just said, I have to, either one-on-one in harvest or in a mastermind for 3 months, makes me so happy. You know what to do.